So, Violet,
Right here.
I'm so glad. Um, so you're going to talk about a, a question a lot of people have had, which is how does the Oaklander model work with different diagnoses? Is it only for one type of child, or what about this issue that a child might have? And I know that you have some wonderful ways to talk about that.
Well, one thing is our slogan, one of our slogans, meet the child where she or he is. So that's pretty much takes care of everything, I think. Well, but anyway, I guess you want an example. So I was thinking of what would be a good example. And then I remembered that one year I gave a workshop in Winnipeg, Canada, and while I was in the giving this workshop, one of the therapists in the audience came up and asked me if I would come to her class. She taught um, older kids, maybe they were like 12, 13, 14, and she said they were pretty good. And she had one boy that she just couldn't reach, and he was on the spectrum, kind of on a uh, pretty high up on the spectrum. Anyway, she said he would talk to her. She couldn't reach him. She finally found a puzzle that he would sit and do over and over and over. So I went to her class, and I could pick up the boy immediately because he was buried in this puzzle, his head down. And as soon as he'd work it, he'd break it up and start all over. And evidently he did this throughout the day over and over. So I went over and I said to him, well, what's your puzzle about? And he said, oh, he answered me. He said, it's a Star Wars. And I could see that it was. He had all of these figures from Star Wars. So I said to him, oh, which one would you like to be if you could be one of these Star Wars figures? And he picked one. I don't remember now which one it was. Anyway, he picked one, and we went from there. I talked to the Star Wars figure, and he gave answers, and we went off from there. And the teacher said, I've never seen him respond to anyone. I've never seen him do that. Well, the point was, she never did it with his Star Wars, which was his prime interest and devotion. And that's where she needed to start with him, where he was. And many children that I've worked with who may be classified in certain ways, it always works. I had one little girl who was about 9 who had a lot of trouble interacting and relating. And I sat down with her and I said, would you like to draw a picture? And she, of course, didn't answer me, but she did start to do marks on the paper. She made circles on the paper over and over. And I said, oh, you're making wonderful circles. Uh, could you tell me a story about them? And she actually proceeded to tell a story that was very disconnected and didn't make sense at all. But I listened to the story and I picked up something that I could understand, one aspect. And I said, "Tell me about this. Do you know this?" And she shook her head. And I said, "Let's pretend we could go into this circle. Tell me what's happening." And she proceeded to tell a fantastic kind of story that didn't make sense at all. But that was fine. I mean, I heard it and commented on it, and she was very pleased and smiled. Actually, her mother had brought her, and her mother said she usually doesn't. She usually ignores anyone who tries to talk to her. Anyway, so that was a good example of meeting her where she was. And that's usually, I mean, no matter what the diagnosis is, that's where you begin. It's not that you'll begin doing any of the what we call the Oaklander model. You don't start from there if they're not up for it or able to or ready to start where they are and make contact in that way, which is essential to in your work with children is first to make contact with them. So that's what I just wanted to say today.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you for that. And I think that it's so helpful for people to know that it's really widely applicable if you are where the child is. So we talked about doing an experience. Some of you maybe were on a call last Sunday where I did one like it. One thing, if you scan your room, one thing that is an object that sort of shows what's been frustrating about the pandemic, and one thing that sort of is a sign of hopefulness. Um, Violet.
Yes,
Oh, okay. So does that seem okay for us to do next?
sure.
Okay. All right. Do you have anything in your space that you would want to share first before we send people into breakout rooms?
Oh, let's see. Well, the first thing I saw is this light that's up here.
Yeah.
And the light is shines. It's very hopeful because you can make it shine anytime. And you can turn it off and you can turn it on. And right now it's on so that I could see you better. And let's see if there's anything else that was frustrating. Might have been there's a jar here and it's full of I don't know what's in it. It's frustrating because I don't know what's in it. And, and it's just like sitting there. So
So it can really be anything, right?
anything, anything. Projection is very powerful.
Right? Yeah. And you could be one of those things, right? You could take it one step.
Yes, I
We
could
don't
be
have to, but you could.
right, and I easily could. I mean, we could try. I don't even know if a projection would take place until I tried it. It said something like, I can shine a light on myself, and the light is bright, and it could be, go from there.
Uh-huh.
The frustration, I don't know what it is. Well, like the pandemic, I don't know. The light shined on me. I didn't get sick, and now I'm vaccinated. And the other one, the jar that has stuff in it, I don't know what's in there. Like, I don't know what's going to happen next with this pandemic.
Uh-huh.
So, um, you see, once you begin, the projection takes place. You become part of it. It becomes part of you.
Yeah. Perfect. Thank you. Thank you. So I'm hoping everyone got the idea. I saw there was a question about the prompt, which is just scan your room. And is Violet just so, of course, it's Violet. So, of course, she demonstrated it perfectly for us. It could be anything. One thing that's sort of been an object of frustration during this time, and one thing that says marks hope for you. And then we're going to put you, those of you who want to, go in a breakout room and share your objects quickly, um, just to get the experience. And then we'll come back for our next steps. So does anyone else want to share their objects of frustration and hope, or what the experience was like to share it in the group?
I'm happy to jump in and share, Karen.
Wonderful.
Thank you. Our group was amazing because we were from 4 different countries and we were just chatting away with a different language, but we figured it out. It's amazing. So this was my silliness, object of frustration. I hadn't had a manicure in forever, right? That's not a big problem, but it was just frustrating. And then here's my object of hope. I just happen to have it on my desk, just a glitter jar, so I can remember any time I can pause. And it just takes a minute to take a breath.
Ah, I love it. Thank you. Thank you for that. I'm thinking about what I can put next to me. Like I have that Buddha board. You gave me an idea that I need to remember to take a breath. Thank you for sharing that. You inspired me. Okay, anyone else?
This is Nita from Australia here.
Hi.
My power board has been my frustration during this past 12 months of everything being online. And trying to make sure that I had power for all the bits and pieces and the lights and the laptop and everything else that was required. And what my hope is that I have my dining room table back now. It's been my desk. And I'm a sand play therapist, and my kitchen bench is behind me, not in this place because I've moved it off my dining room table, but a bookshelf with all the objects behind me. So I've got my room, well, I've got a mess too, but my dining room table back again. So I can sit at the table and have a meal or read a book or have a cup of, that is bliss.
That's wonderful. Wonderful. It's good to reclaim your space, right?
Mm.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. Thank you for sharing that.
Karen, can we show us our objects?
Yes.
And one moment, all of us, so we can take a picture.
Oh, yes.
If we.
Thank you for saying that. I forget. And Laura is, that's great. So here, not everyone had Lysol wipes during this time, but I think from the US, you know about these. So this is a good object of frustration. And this whole call is my object of hope, honestly. All
Yes.
people here. Okay.
But you know something? I don't see the frustrating faces.
Oh. Well, because it's both. You're going to take it, Laura.
1, 2, 3. Wait a minute. 3 screens. Just another second, please. And almost there. Okay, I'm done. Thank you.
Thanks for reminding us, because if you look at the YouTube of it's sort of like a record of this time. I can see my hair change and all of you and the different backgrounds of those of you who have been doing it. So it's interesting and even fun and comforting to see that. So thanks.